Well, hey, good evening, folks, and welcome to our Wednesday night weekly update. This is our final weekly update for now. We're going to be breaking after tonight for the summer. I was just kind of reflecting back to how we started with this back last March, that being March of 2020, a year ago March, with Facebook Live for a couple of weeks before we came here onto our church's YouTube channel and have been bringing you really an update on the life of the church each Wednesday with a little thought. My thanks to CT, who stepped in a couple of times. I think Shar maybe stepped in one Wednesday too. I don't recall who all shared space here on a Wednesday evening when I took a week off here and there occasionally. I want to thank you guys for showing up week after week to basically look at me. I don't know why you'd want to look at me. They tell me I have a face for radio, but that's okay. But you guys have showed up faithfully and appreciate that. We do have a few prayer requests that I want to let you guys know about tonight. We want to be praying for Brianna Lukey. Brianna had brain surgery yesterday. A portion of her brain was being removed in the hopes of eliminating the seizures that she's been dealing with for her whole life. The recovery process for that is going to be slow, so we want to definitely keep Brianna in prayer. Also, Audrey Eichhoff is dealing with a significant case of the shingles, and she's in Waverly Gardens in the care center there at the moment and is feeling pretty weak. She's just trying to get strength back into her legs and is anxious to get back to worship with us as soon as she can. I did see Audrey yesterday, and that was kind of a big milestone for me because that was my first time in a care center since the beginning of COVID as well. It was a strange feeling walking in and signing in and getting temperatures taken, and a little different process than it used to be, but another step towards things returning a little closer towards normal. Also, Dave Johnson's requested prayer for a friend, Ellie, who had a heart attack while driving. She was declared dead, resuscitated, and now has been declared brain dead. So Dave's really asking for prayer for her husband, Jay, and their extended family and friends. So definitely keep Ellie's husband, Jay, and family in prayer as well. Dave's also requesting prayer for another friend of his, Pete Erickson, and the family. Pete's former brother-in-law, and you may have seen this on the news, was arrested this week for the murder of Pete's sister 10 years ago in St. Paul. And so Dave's asking us to pray for justice and for peace and a sense of closure. It's been a hard 10 years for the family. So those are the new prayer requests we have. Let's remember to keep those folks in prayer. Also, if you got a chance to see the church newsletter this week, you'll see that there is a June mission opportunity, and the Church and Society Committee is partnering now with Solid Ground and Brittany's Place again to help replenish basic hygiene products. So we're looking for people to bring full-sized shampoos, deodorants, toothpastes, feminine hygiene products, and will have been set outside the church, so you can drop those there on a Sunday morning. But it's just a great opportunity for us to help those in our community who are struggling at this time. It's just a real nice, tangible way to do that. So hope you guys are able to do that. Well, let's see who showed up here tonight, or at least who showed up and made a comment for us. Dale, a very good evening to you. Thank you for tuning in faithfully to our Wednesday night updates over the past year, as have you, Kathy. Trust you and Rich have had a wonderful day. Mag, you have also been one of our faithful attendees here on a Wednesday. I look forward to when we actually get to see you in person again and spend a little time chatting and catching up. Jenny, you have been faithful in so many ways over the last year to me, not just on a Wednesday night, but in everything else as well. Oh, I'm getting choked up. Wasn't expecting that, but that's one of the reasons we're taking a break here. Is there's just such an emotional toll that this last year has taken on all of us. And Peggy, a very good evening to you. Appreciate you showing up here week after week. And did I skip over you, Len? My apologies if I skipped over you, sir. You have been a faithful support through this whole process as well. And you guys have tolerated me showing up here on a Wednesday night when we've had the sound crackly, when we've not had any sound. You guys have come back week after week. So I really do appreciate that and look forward to finding other ways for us to communicate over the course of the summer. I have had a lot of fun coming in and doing these Wednesday nights. It's been a struggle some weeks to put the program together and put the thought for the week together, especially since I started doing it by video. I found that to become quite taxing. But once I get in here in front of the camera, it's always good to see you guys. So anyway, without further ado, here's this week's Thought for the Week. This Saturday will mark 10 years since I ran the Comrades Marathon in South Africa. 56-mile race between Durban and Pietermaritzburg. It's a race that takes you through the valley of 1,000 hills, and then there are what they call the Big Five hills. Cowies, Fields, Bodas, Nchanga, and Polly Shorts. The day itself started off pretty early at 3:40 a.m. with breakfast in the hotel lobby, and after a breakfast of toast with cherry jam, a banana, and a cup of tea, I headed back to the room and got dressed for the main event. At 4:45, we left the hotel room and made our way to the starting line. And after a team prayer with our support crew, we parted company and waited patiently for the race to begin. I soaked in the moment as best I could. The national anthem started to play and the crowd sang heartily. And then Chariots of Fire was played. This was followed by the traditional cockerel crow. A few seconds later, the gun went off. And we were on our way. 4 of us, Michael, Dave, Paul, and myself, we started together. And we stayed together through Cowies Hill, which, coming so near to the start of the race, felt fairly easy. At the bottom of Cowies Hill, I saw my mom's friends, Peter and Peta, and I stopped and I gave them both a hug. It was so good to see a friendly face, even at that stage of the race. The second hill, Fields Hill, is a long, slow climb out of the city of Durban. And I could feel my calf muscles working hard on the hill. But thankfully, it was still nice and cool out. And I was still feeling pretty good. This was the last major hill for a while before we came to number 3, Bodas Hill. This is where I lost my friend Paul and where my race really started to fade on me. My calves were now very tight, and I knew that cramping would be coming. As I passed the halfway mark, I almost cried when I saw Jenny and our team. After a hug and a kiss, though, with Jenny, I was back on the road. The next major hill, Nchanga, was the point at which I knew I was in real trouble, as the cramping began to set in hard on my calf muscles. And it wasn't long before I couldn't run anything other than steep downhills. Anything uphill, anything flat, or anything marginally downhill put too much strain on my calf muscles, and for the next 24 miles, I stopped at every massage station to have my legs rubbed down with ice. By the end, my legs were bruised from all the rubbing. For a while, I wasn't sure if I'd make it. By the time I was 16 miles out, I figured I'd make it. The only question now was how long would it take to cover those miles? And I soon realized that just finishing the race would be fine. And so I monitored every kilometer to make sure I wasn't dropping below that 11:30 time. And it wasn't until the final 2 kilometers that I was 100% sure that I was going to make it. It was getting dark now. And so I did give my sunglasses to a young boy as I approached the stadium in Pietermaritzburg, and he was thrilled. I ran into the stadium for the first time on flat ground in 26 miles. I stopped 10 yards short of the finish line. I held my hands high and I took it all in. And I walked across that finish line in 11 hours, 21 minutes, and 10 seconds. When I saw Jenny, I wrapped my arms around her and I wept. After the race, I felt terrible. My calves were pulsating and I got very nauseous, but a nice cup of tea helped tremendously. The ride back to Durban from Pietermaritzburg was a long one, but we stopped at McDonald's and oh, that was the best Big Mac I've ever tasted. The Apostle Paul likes sports analogies. He wrote to the city of Corinth and he said this. He said, everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. And he also wrote to Timothy saying, have nothing to do with godless myths and old wives' tales. Rather, train yourselves to be godly. For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. This is a trustworthy saying that deserves full acceptance. These days, I am trying to run some again. I'm comfortable right now with 3 or 4 miles. I'm a long way from being able to run the 56 miles of Comrades. You can't bank fitness and keep it for a rainy day. I wish you could. The same is true of our spiritual lives. We have to focus and work every day if we want to successfully follow Jesus in the world. I had a goal 10 years ago, get to the finish line. I had to work hard and overcome a great deal to get there. It was never going to be easy. But then life's not easy either. So I take heart in the words of the Apostle Paul, and I hope you do too. I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. Well, thank you folks for being faithful and joining me here on Wednesday nights over the course of the last 15 months. Let's remain faithful. You know, I look forward to the time when we can all be together, truly be together, face to face, without social distancing, without masks. Life as we remember it, life in community, because we were created to be a people who live in community with one another. So folks, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. And for those of you who are planning to be here on Sunday in person, I look forward to seeing you then. If you're planning to be there virtually via YouTube, we will be live as normal. Service beginning at 10:15, and the link will be sent out with the order of worship on Saturday. Folks, but until then, thanks for joining us on Wednesday night. Take care, God bless, and may Christ's peace be with you.